Welcome back to Streaming Media East 2018. This is the last interview of the first day. I'm Tim Siglin, contributing editor with Streaming Media Magazine and the founding executive director of the not-for-profit Help Me Stream. I've got Scott Grizzle with me today. Scott, your title with IBM is?
Senior Solutions Engineer.
This is not a trick question.
Yeah, I'm the stream manager, basically a senior sales engineer for IBM Cloud Video, Watch and Media.
Got it. And you did two sessions today, one on unified communication,
Correct.
And what was the other one?
And on low latency streaming.
Okay, and what does low latency mean to you? Because there's so many definitions.
That's what came up, and I had to differentiate what is latency and what is delay.
Okay,
and for me,
what is jitter and what is,
yeah. Well, and also what is perceived latency and versus actual latency.
Right, okay.
Someone's in the room watching us and watching the stream, they'll perceive latency.
Right.
If they're at home watching this, like right now, you're not getting the latency.
Right, because there's nothing to compare it to.
Yeah, exactly,
Right.
and that's a big thing is, and that comes up for a lot for us. It's like, yeah, you know, industry average for latency with HLS is anywhere 15 to 30 seconds.
Right.
For industry. Now, you tell somebody that, he goes, that's a long time. Not really, when you figure, yeah, could you reduce it? Yes, but you're also giving up scalability and reliability.
Right.
So that's why that delay is built in is, you know, so the actual stream will be delivered good and you can handle massive scale.
And so that three-legged stool of get it there fast, get it there accurately, get it there at scale.
Yeah.
For you all, where do you sort of fall in that model?
Again, our biggest thing is the highest quality stream and a guaranteed stream.
Okay.
So we actually use multiple CDNs for delivery.
All
so
right.
we have our own, plus we use Akamai and all the big ones out there. So now that makes you think we'd be worse than the industry average. We're actually not. We're actually on the lower side. We're actually industry average about 15 to 30 second range, depending on what type of device you're watching on, because it depends on how you connect with your local ISP.
Sure.
And it always depends on, your connectivity always depends on your local ISP, because that's going to determine your end mile, how you're going to watch, versus pulling from a CDN. And that's where some of the confusion gets out. When I say, you know, the delay is 30 seconds, it sounds like a lot. When you actually say, but my latency is 45 milliseconds, that's complete repackaging and send it out there, then it starts making sense. Oh, it's what the delivery time is my delay.
Sure.
It always is.
And to add to that, I mean, ultimately we have multiple stages of delay or latency. The first is a group of pictures. If the group of pictures is 2 seconds long, you've essentially got that right there. Then, as you say, you've got the repackaging piece for HLS or Dash or what have you. Then you've got the actual moving it onto the network transporting it itself, it coming back down to the last mile, dropping to the person, and then decoding.
It's like we were just talking over there about, you know, and we were kind of joking about RTMP, you know, the long agonizing death of flash.
Right.
But RTMP actually can be low latency.
Very
People forget
low latency,
that.
yeah.
And like same with RTSP, and that's been dead for years. Not really. Major broadcasters use it, and they can get a couple second latency with forward air correction.
Yeah, and I think that whole concept of dead is really difficult, because Flash, while it's been deprecated, is definitely not dead. RTSP just fell out of favor because RTMP provided a better solution at scale. RTMP, as you say, is still very alive and well. In fact, it'll probably be another 6 to 8 years before it's gone.
That's exactly what I say. It's like, again, RTSP, not dead, still around. MPEG-2, still around.
Right.
I mean, will Flash ever go away? Don't know. There'll probably be encoders that'll do it, because I mean, you're not going to give away your elemental tomorrow.
Sure.
Because I got to go some other ingest. You're going to wait till that thing dies.
Right.
You know, and so how long are those codecs going to be around? You know, think of all the small guys. The licensing fees and RTMP is relatively cheap.
Sure.
So most encoders will do that, so that means most ingest, you know, will be RTMP or HLS or some other format in.
Right.
So we got to make a decision to take what we can.
Good point. And on the contribution side, there may be some, you know, some moves to other things, but ultimately RTMP makes sense because from a delivery side, because you can potentially scale it as well. I guess the last question on that is Dash versus HLS. What do you all see in terms of requests for using Dash for delivery versus HLS?
That's funny. That came up in that session also. So right now, people forget about VC1. I know you're familiar with it. VC1 was very encoder heavy, light decode.
Right.
Versus ASOC 264. You're seeing that the same thing with HLS and Dash.
All right.
Right now, Dash is a little more encoder heavy, lighter on the decode. Not as extreme as the other one was, but you're seeing a faster delivery time on Dash right now. So, but also they don't have the same trunking or the same chunks as HLS has.
Sure.
HLS has by default 3 seconds of 3 chunks.
Right, and they were ATM-based packets, so there's a lot of header information that's not needed as well. So.
Versus also, if you look at Dash, you have a lot more companies involved in Dash. And again, it's like kind of like the back to Intel 264 versus VC1. You have more people contributing. It takes longer to move than HLS, like Microsoft and Apple did, but they can do stuff fast. But again, you start looking at most of scale and more the technology come out there, you just see some new future things coming out there. And also, if you're looking at Dash, how are you going to deliver your HEVC? How are you going to deliver your AV1? It's not going to be on HLS right now. Right now, everyone's talking about delivering via Dash. So that's where you got to look at is, it can handle the new codecs out there, which really we're going to see what Apple comes up with for HLS.
It's interesting that Apple responded by doing fragmented MP4. Now, you probably remember I wrote an article or a white paper, co-wrote with Adobe and Microsoft. It was their first joint paper arguing for fragmented MP4. Apple at that point was still looking at transport stream completely. But ultimately now they've come back to byte range addressing and that kind of thing. Do you think Apple will respond to that delivery benefit of Dash by figuring out something on the HLS side, or do you think inherently they'd have to restructure the entire packaging solution, no pun intended?
Don't know on that part, but I would see if they are going to stick with Flash for a while, I assume they will, I would not be surprised if they do the chunked up MP4s and repackage those. It doesn't surprise me. Again, who knows? I mean, what does Apple have? I mean, there's going to be a new version of it, like every iPhone. But again, they'll come out with something totally different than we ever seen before. It's like everybody hated the stupid ear pods, but now everybody has them now.
Very true. All right, Scott, as always, very enjoyable to talk to you, and we'll be back tomorrow morning.